Hare Krishna everyone, so we're continuing with the path of perfection by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is Shravanam Diaries podcast. I'm your host Lalita Devidasi, and we are continuing with the 5th chapter, Determination and Steadiness in Yoga. It is therefore stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.68 to 69 that the devotee who preaches is the most dear to the Lord. Yaidam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshva bidhasyati bhakti mai param kritva mam evaishyatya samshayah. Quote, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. Na chatasman manushyeshu kaschin me priyakrittamah bhavita na chame tasmad anyah priyataro bhuvi. Quote, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Unquote. Therefore, the devotees go out to preach, and going forth, they sometimes meet opposing elements. Sometimes they are defeated, sometimes disappointed, sometimes able to convince, sometimes unable. It is not that every devotee is well equipped to preach. Just as there are different types of people, there are 3 classes of devotees. In the 3rd class are those who have no faith. If they are engaged in devotional service officially for some ulterior purpose, they cannot achieve the highest perfectional stage. Most probably they will slip after some time. They may become engaged, but because they haven't complete conviction and faith, it is very difficult for them to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive. And as soon as they are economically a little well situated, they give up this process and take to their old ways again. It is only by faith that one can advance in Krishna consciousness. As far as the development of faith is concerned, one who is well versed in the literatures of devotional service and has attained the stage of firm faith is called a first-class person in Krishna consciousness. Well, here Srila Prabhupada says 2 things. One is well versed, second is firm faith. Jai. That's what we're trying to do here, trying to become well versed in the literatures of devotional service. Hari Bol, by the blessings of Srila Prabhupada. And in the 2nd class are those who are not very advanced in understanding the devotional scriptures, but who automatically have firm faith that Krishna Bhakti or service to Krishna is the best course, and so, in good faith, have taken it up. Thus, they are superior to the 3rd class, who have neither perfect knowledge of the scriptures, nor good faith, but by association and simplicity are trying to follow. The 3rd class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, But when one is in the second class or first class, he does not fall down. This is very important. One in the first class will surely make progress and achieve the result at the end. Wow, I'm just interesting. Okay, I'll just say what's on my mind, because usually it's considered that the first class is Uttama Adhikari devotee, and Uttama Adhikari devotee is considered to be the pure devotee already. But here Srila Prabhupada says that he will make progress and achieve the result at the end, meaning that one can be an Uttama Adhikari but not yet pure Premi Bhakta. Wow. Very, very interesting. Important to remember. As far as the third class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has faith in the conviction that devotional service to Krishna is very good, he has no knowledge of Krishna through the scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes these third-class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency toward Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, and sometimes they are disturbed. But as soon as the infection of Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga is vanquished, they become second-class or first-class persons in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna is also divided into 3 stages and described in Srimad Bhagavatam. First-class attachment, second-class attachment, and third-class attachment are also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Yes. However one is situated, one should have the determination to go out and preach Krishna consciousness. However one is situated. That endeavor should at least be there, and one who so attempts to preach renders the best service to the Lord. Despite opposition, one should attempt to elevate people to the highest standard of self-realization. One who has actually seen the truth, who is in the trance of self-realization, cannot just sit idly. He must come out. Haribol! Rāmānujācārya, for instance, declared the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra publicly. He did not distribute it secretly for some fee. Recently, an Indian yogi came to America to give some private mantra. But if a mantra has any power, why should it be private? If a mantra is powerful, why should it not be publicly declared so that everyone can take advantage of it? We are saying that this Hare Kṛṣṇa mahā-mantra can save everyone, and we are therefore distributing it publicly, free of charge. But in this age, people are so foolish that they are not prepared to accept it. Rather, they hanker after some secret mantra and therefore pay some yogi $35 or whatever for some private mantra. This is because people want to be cheated. But the devotees are preaching without charge, declaring in the streets, parks, and everywhere, Here is the Hare Kṛṣṇa mahā-mantra, come on, take it. But under the spell of Maya, illusion, people are thinking, oh, this is not good. But if you charge something and bluff and cheat people, they will follow you. Oh, Krishna, this is so sad, actually. In this regard, there is a Hindi verse stating that Kali Yuga is such an abominable age that if one speaks the truth, people will come and beat him. But if one cheats and bluffs and lies, people will be bewildered, will like it, and will accept it. If I say, I am God, people will say, oh, here is Swamiji, here is God. In this age, people don't have sufficient brain power to inquire. How have you become God? What are the symptoms of God? Do you have all these symptoms? Because people do not make such inquiries, they are cheated. Therefore, it is necessary to be fixed in consciousness of the self. Unless one knows and understands the real self and the super self, one will be cheated. Real yoga means understanding this process of self-realization. Yato yato nischalati manaschañchalam asthiram tatastato niyam yaitad atmanyeva vasham nayet. Quote, from whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Unquote, Bhagavad Gita 6.26. This is the real yogic process. If you are trying to concentrate your mind on Krishna and the mind is diverted, wandering to some cinema or whatever, you should withdraw the mind, thinking, not there, please, here. This is yoga, not allowing the mind to wander from Krishna. Very intense training is required to keep the mind fixed on Krishna while sitting in one place. This is very hard work indeed. If one is not so practiced and tries to imitate this process, he will surely be confused. Instead, we always have to engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, dovetailing everything we do to Krishna. Our usual activities should be so molded that they are rendered for Krishna's sake. In this way, the mind will remain fixed on Krishna. As stated before, we should not try to sit down and stare at the tip of our nose. At the present moment, attempts to engage in that type of yoga are artificial. Rather, the recommended method is chanting loudly and hearing Hare Kṛṣṇa. Then, even if the mind is diverted, it will be forced to concentrate on the sound vibration Krishna. It isn't necessary to withdraw the mind from everything. It will automatically be withdrawn because it will be concentrated on the sound vibration. If we hear an automobile pass, our attention is automatically diverted. I want to say immediately, automatically diverted. Similarly, if we constantly chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, our mind will automatically be fixed on Krishna. Although we are accustomed to think of so many other things. Hare Kṛṣṇa! See, the mind immediately became fixed on Krishna. Okay, 1 second. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady. But a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. At the present moment, the mind is controlling us, go dasa. The mind is telling us, please, why not look at that beautiful girl? And so we look. It says, why not drink that nice liquor? And we say, yes. It says, why not smoke this cigarette? Yes, we say. Why not go to this restaurant for such palatable food? Why not do this? Why not do that? In this way, the mind is dictating and we are following. Material life means being controlled by the senses, or the mind, which is the center of all the senses. Being controlled by the mind means being controlled by the senses, because the senses are the mind's assistants. The master mind dictates, go, see that, and the eyes following the directions of the mind look at the sense object. The mind tells us to go to a certain place, and the legs under the mind's dictations carry us there. Thus, being under the direction of the mind means coming under the control of the senses. If we can control the mind, we will not be under the control of the senses. One who is under the control of the senses is known as go dasa. The word go means senses and dasa means servant. One who is master of the senses is called Goswami, because Swami means master. Therefore, one who has the title Goswami is one who has mastered the senses. As long as one is servant of the senses, he cannot be called a Goswami or Swami. Unless one masters the senses, his acceptance of the title Swami or Goswami is just a form of cheating. It was Rupa Goswami who thus defined the meaning of the word Goswami. Originally, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami were not Goswamis, but were government ministers. It was only when they became disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that they became Goswamis. So Goswami is not a hereditary title, but a qualification. One becomes so qualified under the directions of a bona fide spiritual master. Only when one has attained perfection in sense control can he be called a Goswami and become a spiritual master in his turn. Unless one can master the senses, he will simply be a bogus spiritual master. This is explained by Rupa Goswami in his Upadeshamrita, verse 1. Vacha vegam manasa krodha vegam jihva vegam udaropastha vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhira sarvam apimam prithivim sashishyat. Quote, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. In this verse, Rupa Goswami mentions 6 pushings, vegam. This pushing is a kind of impetus. For instance, when nature calls, we have to go to the toilet, and we cannot check this urge. So this urge is called vegam, a kind of pushing. According to Rupa Goswami, there are 6 vegams. Vacho vegam is the urge to talk unnecessarily. This is a kind of pushing of the tongue. Then there is krodha vegam, the urge to become angry. When we are pushed to anger, we cannot check ourselves, and sometimes men become so angry that they commit murder. Similarly, the mind is pushing, dictating, you must go there at once, and we immediately go there where we were told. The word jihva vegam refers to the tongue being urged to taste palatable foods. Udara vegam refers to the urges of the belly. Although the belly is full, it still wants more food, and that is a kind of pushing of the belly. And when we yield to the pushings of the tongue and the belly, the urges of the genitals become very strong, and sex is required. If one does not control his mind or his tongue, how can he control his genitals? In this way, there are so many pushings, so much so that the body is a kind of a pushing machine. Rupa Goswami therefore tells us that one can become a spiritual master only when he can control all these urges. Etan viganyo visaheta dhirah sarvam apimam prithivim sashishyat. Nectar of Instruction, verse 1. Quote, one who can control these pushings and remain steady can make disciples all over the world. Unquote. The word dhira means steady, sober. Only one who is a dhira is qualified to make disciples. This all depends on one's training. Indeed, yoga means training the mind and the senses to be fixed on the self. This is not possible by meditating only 15 minutes a day and then going out and doing whatever the senses dictate. How can the problems of life be solved so cheaply? If we want something precious, we have to pay for it. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, this payment has been made very easy. Just chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. By our chanting, this system of control, this yoga system, becomes perfected. Iha haite sarvasidhi haibe tomara. Thus, Lord Chaitanya has blessed us. Simply by chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, we will achieve the perfection of self-realization. In this age of Kali Yuga, when people are so fallen, other processes will not be successful. This is the only process, and it is easy, sublime, effective, and practical. By it, one can realize oneself, by this process. According to Krishna in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita 9.2, this process is most sublime. Raja Vidyam Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavāgamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Quote, this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Unquote. After eating, a man can understand that his hunger has been satisfied. Similarly, by following the principles of Krishna consciousness, one can understand that he has advanced in self-realization. Haribol! Jai. So we have completed the 5th chapter. Tomorrow we shall start chapter 6, Perception of the Supersoul. So thank you so much for tuning in today. The link to this book is in the description, and we shall see you next time. Hare Kṛṣṇa.